Welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Jim Wells, and I'm a member of the worship ministry. Our congregation is one of respect and inclusion. We accept all people as they are, growing toward who they might become. We believe that our becoming happens better in community, and we welcome all those looking for a spiritual home of acceptance and love. It's especially wonderful to be here today with this community brimming with love and inclusiveness and caring, especially after this week when I think many of us woke up to a world that seemed to have a little bit less of that.
For our call to worship this morning, I invite you to get comfortable and center yourself. You might wish to place your feet flat on the ground, perhaps lower or close your eyes. As much as possible, relax, breathe calmly. You're welcome to follow the breathing instructions in this reading, or just continue to breathe regularly with long, slow breaths. Breathing in, I am aware of my pain. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my pain. Breathing in, I am aware of my past. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my past. Breathing in, I am aware of my anger. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my anger. Breathing in, I am aware of my despair. Breathing out, I am aware that I am not my despair. Breathing in, I am aware of peace. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of peace. Breathing in, I am aware of love. Breathing out, I am aware that I am worthy of love. Breathing in, I am aware of joy. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of joy. Breathing in, I am aware of hope. Breathing out, I am aware that I am an agent of hope. Breathing in, I am aware. I invite you to take a final deep cleansing breath as you gently come back. This morning we have a responsive reading. The words will appear on the screen, but if you'd like to look in the book, it is 468. I'll begin and ask the congregation to read the italicized. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All of our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us.
So I start with a true story. This happened yesterday. I had just finished writing my sermon, and most of you know a lot of hours go into that, as you can imagine. So I finished the sermon, and I turned to say something to my husband, Gary, and I turned back, and my sermon had turned into Chinese characters. I'm not kidding. If you wanted to see your minister freak out, that was it. An hour or two later, with both of us working and the Geek Squad working, the sermon was retrieved. This has been a topsy-turvy week. What can we say? They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. This proverb has been rattling around my brain the past few days. Friends, we come together today bruised and battered. Perhaps some of the immediate shock of the election might have begun to dissipate to some degree, but the reality that we face is stark. Many of us are in mourning and grief. In fact, the day after the election, I wore black, Gary wore black, and spontaneously I just looked around and so many people were wearing black. We grieve the fact that during this election season, some of us have experienced hurt due to damaged relationships with loved ones, friends, co-workers, dismay over the election results, stress from bombardment of negative discourse and lies, and fear that this country's divisions are about to intensify. We grieve the fact that our country has been torn apart by hate and fear and blame. And we grieve the fact that we have taken a massive emotional, political, social, and spiritual step backwards. Our country is polarized, angry, anxious, and just got a whole lot more frightening for a lot of people. Today, we gather to mourn, to seek understanding, to begin working toward a stronger community, and for a better future. And I want to say very clearly here that these issues are not partisan issues. These issues are the issues of faith and the love that we as Unitarian Universalists profess and seek to live out day by day. I'm not there yet. I am rejecting the calls to healing, for accepting results of the election and just going on with what our flawed system has dealt us. Many of us gathered here in the sanctuary on Wednesday evening, all of us in shock and dismay, many of us with tears flowing. And I said then, and I'm still saying, I'm not ready to just put this behind and say, it's time to come together and heal. I do believe we need to move forward in a constructive way, but my pain and my fear will be put to really good use as motivating factors. And in this spirit, I offer you the following litany. It's called the Litany for Those Who Aren't Ready for Healing by Yolanda Pierce. Let us not rush to the language of healing before understanding the fullness of the injury and the depth of the wound. Let us not rush to offer a Band-Aid when the gaping wound requires surgery and complete reconstruction. Let us not offer false equivalencies, thereby diminishing the particular pain being felt in a particular circumstance, in a particular historical moment. Let us not speak of reconciliation without speaking of reparations and restoration, or how we can repair the breach and how we can restore the loss. Let us not rush past the loss of this mother's child, this father's child, someone's beloved son. Let us not value property over people, not protect material objects while human lives hang in the balance. Let us not value a false peace over a righteous justice. Let us not be afraid to sit with the ugliness, the messiness, and the pain that is life in community together. Let us not offer cliches to the grieving, those whose hearts are torn asunder. Instead, let us mourn Black and brown men and women killed extrajudicially. Let us call for the mourning men and the wailing women, those willing to rend their garments of privilege and ease and sit in the ashes of this nation's original sin. Let us be silent when we don't know what to say. Let us be humble and listen to the pain and the rage and the grief pouring from the lips of our neighbors and friends and from ourselves. Let us decrease so that our brothers and sisters who live on the underside of history may increase. And let us pray with our eyes open and our feet firmly planted on the ground. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Remember about a month and a half ago, I spoke about taking the red pill, reference from the movie The Matrix, in which the main character Neo has to choose between embracing the painful truth of reality, which is the red pill, or the blissful ignorance of illusion, the blue pill. And most of the time we muddle along choosing the blue pill, the blissful ignorance of illusion. But the red pill has been forced down our throats with this election, and we are confronted with reality that is so painful. The reality that many of our fellow citizens voted for a person who many feel poses an extreme danger to this country. The reality that we now seem to be entering a time in which literally the hounds of hell have been loosed, and there seems to be permission granted to be blatantly sexist, racist, xenophobic, and the list goes on. The reality that the person who is slated to be who's slated to be the next president of our country is diametrically opposed to our Unitarian Universalist values and principles. Whether this was what all Trump voters intended or not, the reality is that we are facing forces of hate and separation and division and fear that triumphed in this election. And that's exactly what we have to stand against beginning now. Many of us have been working for probably as long as we can remember to try to make this world a better place. And to you, I say, do not lose heart. More than 50 million Americans embrace the message of moving forward together, seeing the importance of equality and fairness. More people voted for that message than voted for Trump's message of fear and division. And our young people, they saw most clearly through Trump's manipulation and lies. I am so proud of the high schoolers from the 3 high schools here in Goleta and Santa Barbara who said, hell no, and they walked out of their classes on Wednesday in protest. And I am so proud of my own children. Naomi, who is a master at social media and is making herself heard, and Gray and April, who participated in protests on Wednesday evening in Los Angeles. This is what my son sent to me, a text. He said, I was on the front lines as long as I could. I stood toe to toe with the Los Angeles Police Department, my hands up in peace signs. I am so proud of them, along with so many other young people, our hope for the future. Although I have to admit that as a mom, I'm really glad that I heard about Greg standing toe-to-toe with the LAPD after the fact. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. I don't think we're going to go through a period of mourning and then come out the other end ready for struggle. If a Trump presidency looks anything like a Trump campaign, we will be spending the next years in a constant state of mourning alongside a constant state of struggle. This election has tried us as a nation. We knew it would be a difficult time, and that prediction has come true. We also knew that beginning the day after the election that there was going to be work to be done. If that work is now much harder than some of us expected, still it is the work we face. As people of faith that is premised on the worth and dignity of all, we must place ourselves into the breach when that belief is at risk. And make no mistake about it, since we as Unitarian Universalists stand so counter to the core message of the president-elect and the people he is surrounding himself with, we are directly in the line of fire. Now we see clearly the resentment and fear of the other and the despair seething below the surface in many of our country people. Now more than ever, we will be tested. What this means is that we must attend continuously to the inward life, to replenishing our spirit, and to taking care of ourselves while simultaneously joining with others in the struggle for the values upon which our faith lies. This time calls us to live our faith like we've never done before. We talk a lot about our Unitarian Universalist, or UU, faith as having the freedom of choice. We do have the freedom of choice in terms of choosing the flavor of our personal spiritual path. But really the choice before us is whether or not you choose to take your personal truths and principles seriously enough to act on them, actually live them on a daily basis. Our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, which trusts the integrity and worth of each individual, sets you free, not so you can casually dabble in religion, but so that you can become, as Stephen Carter put it, intoxicated by an authentic personal faith so compelling that you can't help but live out its principles and serve the greater good. Our freedom is not an end, but it is simply the beginning. It is the ground upon which we base our action. They tried to bury us. They did not know we were seeds. We're not living for ourselves anymore in this country. Now we're living for history and for posterity. We're living in a unique time that calls for resilience and resistance. First, we need to build up our resilience. We were knocked down, but we are strong and we will come back, roaring back, stronger than ever. And we are roaring back, stronger than ever. That is why building up our inner reserves and making sure we're caring for ourselves is so important. What I'm advocating here is a spiritual activism, bringing to life a compassion that is born of the fusion of a deep core of courage and love and passion aligned with radical progressive action in the world. We are resilient because we're fed by this core of strength. When I've spoken of this before, I've likened it to the breath. Breathing in, we attend to our core, to our center. Breathing out, we work to change the world. Both parts are grounded in love and compassion, and both reinforce and sustain the other. And from my own experience, I can tell you that a sole focus on one can undermine the other. We will need both in the days, the weeks, the months, and years to come. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Resistance has already begun, and it is vital that we keep at it. As Neil deGrasse Tyson wrote, "This is the end of nothing. This is the beginning of something new and solemn and so important. You must be part of what comes next." We need to reach out to like-minded, good-hearted people who are working and will continue working with us in progressive causes, standing up for the rights of all people, with our LGBTQ friends, with people of color, with women, with people of all faiths and no professed faith, with refugees, with everyone who feels fear. We need to say loud and clear, we stand with you. You have allies. We will fight. The 13th century Sufi poet Rumi said, "To be born in love is to serve all beings and all creation. Real lovers serve ardently, hopefully, and in an ecstasy of awe. We are born in love, and we are born to be those who serve." Today, we also honor those who have served our country in the armed forces and in alternative service. There are many ways to be those who serve. If you've been on the internet at all, in this post-election time, you will have seen many articles and lists about where we should go from here. So you knew I wasn't going to let you down. Here's my list. First, take care of yourself. We've all heard the directions that if you're in an emergency on an airplane, you need to take the oxygen mask and put it on yourself first. Find the time to take care of yourself and feed your soul and be compassionate with yourself. Number 2, recall the suffering of the world. This starts with those who are terrorized by this election and the results, but seek also to extend this to the hurt and fear that led so many people to vote for Trump. The Buddha teaches that in the great play of cause and effect, we are all caught up in layer upon layer of grasping after things that are in flux. Recall all the suffering of the world. 3, remember there is no separation. We are, all of us, part of an interdependent web of existence, and we are one. 4, use your financial resources, whether they be large or small, for the good. Next week, I'm so happy to announce that we're going to be welcoming new members to our congregation. And last week when we were talking together, I suggested that we all consider what's called a modern tithe. What this means is 5% of income to Live Oak and 5% in supporting causes and organizations that you believe in. And I suggest that this concept has grown even more important in this time. 5, walk the walk. Roll up your sleeves and live out a theology of dirty hands. Stand up for our UU principles and values and serve others. Unitarians and Universalists all over the centuries have been active out of all proportion to our numbers in seeking justice and struggling against oppression and making this world a better place. We stand on the shoulders of women and men of our faith, both famous and those with names unknown, who rose to the challenge of their times. And as Maya Angelou wrote, we rise. And finally, trust that you are sufficient. You and I and all of us are up to this. We can affect change wherever we find ourselves. This is a lifetime walk, step by step. Be consistent in your advocacy for others, and be consistent in your vision of a country that is not fueled by hate or fear. Remember the words of Leonard Cohen that we just heard. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. You are sufficient to do your part, and you are loved. On my computer, so that I see it every day, is the following. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Friends, we were made for these times. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Say it with me. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. One more time. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Amen. Peace be with you. Please take one, unless you're already wearing one. Don't put it on yet, just hold it in your hand. And I just want to say a word about the ladybug picture. I don't know why, this just made me crack up, and I figured about now we needed something kind of fun. So there's nothing other than just it's a cool picture, and ladybugs, at least that I'm familiar with, are good luck. So the wearing of safety pins, which are being passed around right now, have become a symbol in this post-election time. Wearing a safety pin shows that you choose to offer shelter and support and intervention and solidarity with all those who are being harassed or suffering. This symbol started, don't put it on yet, hang on. You're so good, you're so with it, but hold it in your hand for just a minute. The symbol originated in Australia in 2014 and was used in post-Brexit Britain when people were being harassed there. And so wearing a safety pin shows that you are a safe ally. Has everyone gotten their safety pin? So I'm going to ask you, just for a moment, to hold the safety pin in your hand. And I want you to hold that pin and take all of the energy and the resolve of your Unitarian Universalist principles and values, and I want you to put all of the love and blessings that you feel here today in this community, put it in your pin. And now you're invited to take that pin and put it on yourself, and know that you can wear it every day as long as you need to show that you are a safe ally to those who may be feeling vulnerable and threatened. Join hands for our benediction. Our faith, this congregation is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. Let us pause in silent witness to that unity. And may the blessings of love be upon you. May love's peace abide with you. And may love's presence illuminate your heart. now and forevermore. So be it. Blessed be. And now, as we extinguish our communal chalice, now is when our service truly begins.
We carry the light of our chalice into the world.
I just want to say a quick word. Talking about walking the walk, I invite you to join me and many other Live Oakers at a peace walk. United we stand, not today, but next Sunday the 20th. We're gathering at 3 o'clock in the courthouse, in front of the courthouse, as a show of support for those who are feeling vulnerable. And Marty can answer any questions after service today. So let's sing our final response. We would be one.